Firebase interview questions and answers. Beginner means advanced. Introduction. Firebase is a Backend as a Service (BaaS) platform by Google, used for building web and mobile applications quickly. It provides it. Check. Authentication? Check. Real-time databases? Check. Cloud storage? Check. Hosting? Check. Analytics? Check. Push notifications? Check. Serverless functions. Firebase is widely used in Android, iOS, React, Flutter, and full-stack applications. 1 to 20. Firebase Basics. What is Firebase? Firebase is a cloud platform for building and managing applications. Who developed Firebase? Firebase is owned by Google. Surface. Serverless backend. Real-time sync. Authentication support. Easy hosting. What is BaaS? Backend as a Service. Authentication? Firestore. Real-time database. Cloud functions. Hosting. Storage. Analytics. What is Firebase Authentication? Service for user login and identity management. Authentication methods in Firebase. Check. Email password. Google login. Facebook login. Phone OTP. GitHub login. What is Firestore? NoSQL cloud database for storing application data. What is Firebase Real-Time Database? Cloud-hosted database with real-time synchronization. Firestore versus Real-Time Database. Firestore is newer, scalable, and more structured. What is Firebase Hosting? Hosting service for web applications. What is Firebase Storage? Cloud storage for images, videos, and files. What is Firebase Analytics? User activity and app analytics service. What is Firebase Console? Web dashboard for managing Firebase projects. What is Firebase Cloud Messaging? FCM. Push notification service. What is Firebase SDK? Library used to integrate Firebase into applications. What platforms support Firebase? Check. Android. Check. iOS. Web. Flutter. React Native. What is a Firebase project? Container for all Firebase services and configurations. What is Firebase Emulator Suite? Local environment for testing Firebase services. What is serverless architecture? Running backend logic without managing servers. 21 to 40. Firestore, database, and storage. What is NoSQL database? Database storing data in flexible document format. Firestore data structure. Collections means documents, means fields. Example Firestore structure. Users, Tata, user 1. Name, John. Age, 25. What is document in Firestore? Single data record. What is collection in Firestore? Group of documents. What is real-time synchronization? Automatic live updates when data changes. How to read Firestore data? db.collectionusers.get. How to add Firestore data? db.collectionusers add name John. What is Snapshot Listener? Real-time listener for database updates. What is offline persistence? Firebase caches data locally for offline access. What is indexing in Firestore? Improves query performance. What is compound query? Query using multiple conditions. What are Firestore security rules? Rules controlling read-write access. Example security rule: allow read-write if request.auth not equal null. What is Firebase Storage used for? Uploading and storing files. How to upload file to Firebase Storage? storage.ref.images.pic.jpg.put file. What is download URL? Public or authenticated URL to access uploaded file. How is Firestore scalable? Automatically scales horizontally. Firestore versus SQL database. Firestore is document-based. SQL uses tables and relations. Limitations of Firestore. Limited joins, complex relational queries are difficult. 41 to 70, authentication, cloud functions, and security. What is Firebase Authentication? User Identity Management System. How does Google Login work in Firebase? Uses OAuth authentication. What is JWT token in Firebase? Authentication token identifying logged-in user. What is anonymous authentication? What is email verification? Validates user email ownership. What is password reset flow? Sends reset email to user. What is Firebase Admin SDK? Backend SDK for Firebase management. What are cloud functions? Serverless backend functions. Why use cloud functions? Backend APIs, automation, event triggers, notifications. Example cloud function. Exports hello world equals functions.https.onRequest. Rec equals res send hello. What are event-driven functions? Functions triggered automatically by events. Cloud function triggers, copy, HTTP requests, copy Firestore updates, copy authentication events, copy storage uploads. One is scheduled function. Function triggered by cron schedule. What is Firebase hosting rewrite? Redirects routes to backend functions or SPA. What is Firebase CLI? Command line tool for deployment. How to deploy Firebase app? Firebase deploy. What is Firebase environment configuration? Managing API keys and project settings. How to secure Firestore. SOC. Authentication. SOC. Security rules. SOC. Validation rules. What is role-based access in Firebase? Permission control using user roles. What is custom claim in Firebase? Additional user role data in JWT token. What is Firebase App Check? Protects backend resources from abuse. What is rate limiting? Restricting excessive API requests. How to monitor Firebase apps. Crashlytics, analytics, performance monitoring. What is Crashlytics? Firebase crash reporting tool. What is Firebase performance monitoring? Tracks app performance metrics. What is Firebase remote config? Change app behavior without redeploying. What is A/B testing in Firebase? Compare multiple app experiences. What is Firebase dynamic links? Smart deep links for apps. What is multi-factor authentication? Login using multiple verification methods. How to optimize Firebase security. CLUC, strict rules. App check, role-based access, token validation, 71 to 100, advanced Firebase and architecture. What is Firebase architecture style? Serverless, event-driven architecture. When should Firebase be used? Icon, startups, MVPs, mobile apps, real-time apps. When is Firebase not ideal? Complex SQL joins, highly relational systems, large enterprise reporting systems. What is Firebase scalability model? Automatic cloud scaling. What is sharding in Firebase? Splitting data across collections/databases. What is denormalization in Firestore? Duplicating data for faster reads. Why is denormalization common in NoSQL? Avoids expensive joins. What is cold start in Cloud Functions? Delay when serverless function starts after inactivity. How to reduce Cloud Function cold starts. Smaller functions, optimize dependencies, keep functions warm. What is Firebase pricing model? Pay-as-you-go, based on usage. Firebase free tier, Spark plan. Paid Firebase plan, Blaze plan. What is Firebase Hosting CDN? Global Content Delivery Network. How does Firebase support CI/CD? Firebase CLI with GitHub Actions or pipelines. What is Firebase integration with React? React apps use Firebase SDK for backend services. What is Firebase integration with Flutter? Flutter Fire plugins connect Flutter apps to Firebase. How to structure Firestore collections. Design around application queries. Common Firebase interview topics? Check. Authentication, Firestore, security rules, cloud functions, hosting, scalability. What are Firebase best practices? Secure rules, optimize queries, use indexes, avoid deep nesting. How to optimize Firestore cost. Reduce reads writes, cache data, optimize listeners. What causes high Firestore billing? Excessive reads and real-time listeners. What is Firebase SDK initialization? Initialize app, Firebase config. How to handle authentication state. On/off state changed. Auth user equals. What is Firebase hosting used for? Hosting static websites and SPAs. How to deploy React app to Firebase hosting. npm run build, Firebase deploy. How to deploy Angular app to Firebase. Build project, then deploy using Firebase CLI. How to secure uploaded files. Use Firebase storage rules. How to become strong in Firebase. Build projects. Learn security rules. Optimize Firestore queries. Use cloud functions. Understand serverless design. What is the biggest Firebase advantage? Fast backend development with minimal infrastructure management. What is the key Firebase interview concept? Understanding real-time NoSQL architecture and serverless backend design. Final summary. Firebase interviews focus on serverless architecture, Firestore and NoSQL databases, cloud functions, Firebase hosting, storage and file uploads, push notifications, security roles, serverless architecture. Key idea. Strong Firebase developers understand scalable NoSQL design, security rules, and event-driven serverless applications.